Acharya Achyutamrita Chaitanya ji, who will be heading the panel discussion today. And I am sure that he is very familiar face to all of you, but let me just formally invite him. He serves as Associate Professor in Amrita Darshanam, International Center for Spiritual Studies, Amrita Vidyapeetham, Amritapuri campus. He has more than 30 years of experience in teaching. He completed his PhD in 1997 from Cochin University. Since then, he has continued his extensive study of Indian culture under the guidance of Amma Sadguru Sri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi. He also serves as Associate Editor of Matravani, the spiritual monthly magazine of Mata Amritanandamayi Mad. He has given spiritual talks in many temples across Kerala, and his satsangs are regularly aired on Amrita TV as well. I welcome you, Swami, to the session. In Bhagavata, sage Kapila is giving advice to his mother Devahuti. It is also known as Sankhya Tattva. Can we connect both Sankhya Yoga and Kapilopadesha together? There are many similarities. Is there any difference between Sankhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga? Hope you can give your expert advice regarding this. That was one question which came today morning. So may I request Achyutamrita Swami to kindly address this question, Swami?
So this question, whoever have asked this question has raised a really fundamental issue. It is clear that Bhagavad Gita, let me come first to Bhagavad Gita, then I will refer to Bhagavata. Bhagavad Gita is a source book for all types of schools of thoughts in India. All philosophies like Vedanta, especially Vedanta, then Sankhya, then even Mimamsa, Yoga, all these schools of thoughts find their support in Bhagavad Gita, or they all accept Bhagavad Gita as their one of their authentic texts and comment on Bhagavad Gita from their perspective. And what happened is Vedantins, that is Uttaramimamsakas, selected three main texts of our tradition and formed their foundation by the name Prasthanatraya. You all have come across this term many times, I hope. So the Prasthanatraya consists of, as you know, Brahma Sutra, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Sutra is Nyaya Prasthana, Upanishad is Shruti Prasthana, and Bhagavad Gita is Smriti Prasthana. And after that, all the Vedanta schools like Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita, every one of them started commenting on these three works, that is Brahma Sutra, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Unless they comment, they write their commentaries on these three texts, their school will not be accepted in Indian traditional schools. So all of them have commented on these three texts. So we can find that Bhagavad Gita is of utmost importance in Vedanta school of thought. But this is not the matter, the whole matter. This is not the whole matter. Even Sankhyas find their theories presented in Bhagavad Gita, and they explain Bhagavad Gita from their angle, and they try to establish that it is Sankhya which is explained in Bhagavad Gita. It is Sankhya which is propounded by Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita. In the same way, Yoga, as you know, Yoga is a sister school of Sankhya. They both have the same philosophy as their fundamental ideology, and Yogins vehemently argue that Bhagavad Gita is a text of yoga philosophy, because there is famous statement, it is Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastra. So it is a Yoga Shastra, no doubt. So if it is a Yoga Shastra, and if the Yoga school of thought can approach Bhagavad Gita from their philosophical ideology, then it is evident that Bhagavad Gita can be explained on the basis of Sankhya Yoga, because Yoga Shastra is founded on Sankhya Shastra, not Sankhya Yoga, sorry, Sankhya Shastra, Sankhya philosophy. That said, we cannot refute the idea that Sankhya is not the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, because the great Acharya Adi Shankaracharya has refuted Sankhya successfully in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Yoga also is refuted by Shankaracharya in Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Edena yoga nirastaha. There is a statement. After a long discussion, debate, he says that with these arguments I have refuted yoga. So yoga philosophy and the Sankhya philosophy are not the message of Brahma Sutra and Upanishads. This is what Shankaracharya says in Upanishad Bhashya and Brahma Sutra Bhashya. In the same way, when he comes to Bhagavad Gita, he does not go into the detailed discussion of Sankhya and the Purva Pakshas or the opponent's arguments and try to refute them in Bhagavad Gita. It is already finished in Upanishad and Brahma Sutra. So he does not go into the hair-splitting argumentations to refute Sankhya while he commented on Bhagavad Gita. But when he comes across these terms like Sankhya in Bhagavad Gita, he never considers it as a point to discuss. He just casually says that it is Jnana Yoga. At first it comes in the third chapter. Yes, Arjuna asks Krishna, Jayasi chet karmanaste mada buddhir janardana. If you argue that, if you consider that jnana is superior, the word used for jnana in that sloka is buddhi. Jayasi chet mada buddhir karmanaste mada buddhir. More than karma, it is buddhi which is superior. Then why do you engage me in this ghore karmani Keshava, in this very terrible act? Tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi Keshava. And as an answer to these two slokas, in which Arjuna asked this question of which is Shrestha, whether jnana or karma. Logesmin dividha nishta pura prokta mayanakha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yogina. This is the answer that Bhagavan gives to Arjuna when he asks about the superiority of jnana over karma. Even though the question is the superiority of jnana over karma, and why do you ask me to engage in karma? The answer that Bhagavan gives is, Yogesmin dividha nishta maya prakta purarjuna. I have given two paths in the beginning of the creation itself. Which are they? Jnana yogena sankhyanam. For the Sankhyas, it is jnana yoga. Karma yogena yogina. And for yogis, it is karma yoga. When Shankaracharya comments on this verse, he says that Sankhyanam means jnanina, jnana yogina. So those who have the capacity to pursue jnana yoga or the qualification, eligibility to pursue jnana yoga, and Shankaracharya is very particular that sannyasa is necessary for jnana yoga. Grihasthas cannot follow jnana yoga according to Shankaracharya. That's another topic of debate. Shankaracharya says that for Grihastha it is karma yoga and for sannyasins it is jnana yoga. So jnana yogena sankhyanam means, here sankhya means one who pursues jnana yoga. That means sannyasa. One who renounces actions. For that kind of people only jnana yoga or jnana yoga is prescribed. Jnana yogena sankhyana. So it naturally means that Sankhya and Jnana Yoga are same in Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavan says Jnana Yogena Sankhyana. For Sankhyas, it is Jnana Yoga. And here the commentarians of Shankara Bhashya says that here Sankhya is not mentioning the Sankhya school of philosophy. It is just mentioning the people who are eligible for Jnana Sadhana. That is sannyasins. And then karma yogena yogina. The word yogi here means karma yogis who engage themselves in actions, in Vedic actions, in smarta karmas, smriti prescribed actions. So those who follow the actions prescribed by Vedas and smritis, they are yogis. And for them, karma yoga is prescribed. What does it mean? Karma yoga is prescribed for yogis. Because one who does karma is not a karma yogi. One who does karmas prescribed in Smriti and Veda are just karmins, karma kandins, or karmathas, we call in Sanskrit. And they will do these karmas and attain to Swarga, heaven. And they will have to return. But Bhagavan says, for them, those who are eligible for karma alone, let them do karma as karma yoga. How to make karma a karma yoga? That is described in detail in Bhagavad Gita. Halatyaga, Ishvara Samarpana, Loga Sangraha, all these come into play when we want to make karma into karma yoga. So those who are inclined to karma, let them do karma as karma yoga and purify themselves and become fit for Jnana Yoga, which is the next stage of their evolution development. And when they become fit for Jnana Yoga, they are called Sankhyas. And that Sankhyas should pursue the path of Jnana Yoga. So clearly here Sankhya doesn't mean the Sankhya philosophy of Kapila. But if we go through Bhagavad Gita, we can see all the elements of Sankhya philosophy in Bhagavad Gita. So if we go, if there is an argumentation between a Sankhya philosopher and a Vedantin about what is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, is it Sankhya or is it Vedanta, then the argument will become very, very severe, because both of them have enough to support their standpoint. So Sankhya can be, this word Sankhya which comes in the third chapter, third sloka. If we want, we can interpret it as Sankhya Yoga, but the Vedanta school of philosophy has refuted that this is not the Sankhya of Kapila Muni, but it is just Jnana only, of Advaita, of Upanishads. Not the Sankhya of Kapila, but it is the Brahmajnana of Upanishads. And Brahmajnana of Upanishads and Sankhya's philosophy are different. There is no Brahma in Sankhya's philosophy. Only Purusha is there. There are many, many things. And there is no Ishvara in Sankhya. In the earlier stages of Sankhya philosophy, there was no Ishvara. When later, when Sankhya developed, they had to accept Ishvara, and Seshvara Sankhya started. Later, after maybe halfway of the Sankhya school's history, we can find Ishvara being included in Sankhya philosophy. But in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara is prominent. So you cannot say that it is pure Sankhya. But all the elements of Sankhya philosophy are available in Bhagavad Gita. So we can, in a way, argue that the Sankhya in Bhagavad Gita is the Sankhya of Kapila. But from another perspective, we will have to say categorically that it is not the Sankhya of Kapila, because Ishvara is very prominent and many, many aspects are there which are not in Sankhya philosophy of Kapila. So better not take the Sankhya of Gita as the Sankhya of Kapila, even though all the aspects of Kapila's Sankhya can be found in Bhagavad Gita. And when you come to Bhagavata, there also this problem is there. The pure Sankhya is not instructed by Kapila to his mother Devahuti. It is a bhakti mixed Sankhya and Jnana mixed, Brahma Jnana mixed Sankhya. So Vedanta's influence is there in in the dialogue between Kapila and Devahuti. That is called Kapilobhakhyana in Bhagavatam. This the questioner has given another name. I don't know whether that name is there. Kapilobhadesha. Yes, it is correct. Kapilobhadesha or Kapilobhakhyana. It is called Kapilobhakhyana. It is also known as Sankhya Tattva. Yes, it is Sankhya Tattva. Sankhya Tattva is very elaborately described in the Kapilobhakhyana of Bhagavata. And the methodology used by Sankhyas are applied there. That is the difference. In Bhagavad Gita, the methodology applied by Sankhya's are not present at all. But in the Kapilobhakhyana, in Devahuti, Kapila dialogue, in Mahabharata, the methodology also is used. If you want to know what the Kapilobhakhyana of Bhagavata is, the best way, the easiest way is to go to Narayaniam. Narayaniam has a very beautiful chapter, Dashaka, called Kapilobhadesha. The entire Upadesha that Kapila Muni gives to his mother Devahuti is condensed in one chapter, in one Dashaka. And that Dashaka, if you study with a commentary, you will get the whole picture of what Sankhya in Bhagavata is. And there you will find the methodology of Sankhya. Madhirika Gunasakta, Bandhakriteshwa Sakta, Pamardagad Ubarunde, Bhakti Yogastu Sakti. This is the beginning of that chapter. There it says, Madhiriya Gunasakta, when the intellect becomes attached to gunas, trigunas, then it becomes binding. Madhiriya Gunasakta, Bandhakrit. Teshu Asakta, Amrita. When the Mati or the intellect is unattached with the trigunas, it becomes Amrita. It becomes the gateway to Amrita to Amoksha. Bandhakrit Teshu Asakta, Amrita, Uvarunde, Bhakti Yogastu Mukti. Bhakti Yogastu Sakti. Then Sakti, this attachment can be cut, can be ceased by Bhakti Yoga. This is what Kapila Muni says to Devahuti. So it is not Sankhya of Kapila. Kapila has no element of Bhakti in his Sankhya. Then in the next verse of Bhagavatam, no, sorry, Narayani, which is a condensed version of Bhagavata's Kapilopakhyaana, the next verse gives the methodology of Sankhya. Prakriti Mahadahangarascha Matrascha Bhudanyabhi Hridapi Dashakshi Purusha Panchavinshaha. This Panchavinsha Purusha, 24 tattvas. Prakriti, Mahata, Ahangaram, 5 Tanmatras, 5 Bhudas, 5 elements, then 5 Indriyas, Manas, Buddhi, Ahangara. This constitutes 24. Then Purusha Panchavinshaha. Then the 25th is Purusha. These principles of Sankhya are explained in Bhagavata by Kapila to Devahuti. These principles can be found in Bhagavad Gita also, but it is not so clearly, so exclusively presented in Bhagavad Gita. But in Bhagavata Kapilopakhyaana, it follows the methodology followed by Kapila in Sankhya to an extent. After that, the devotion element comes, meditation on Vishnu's form comes, sitting on the Garuda, you meditate Bhagavan Vishnu from his crown to his feet, or the Keshadipada, everything is explained beautifully in Kapila's advice to Devahuti. And it is said in this Kapilopadesha, Idi Vidita Vibhago Muchyadeso. Then when we do the Vibhaga, the separation of Purusha from Prakriti, he will be liberated. This is what Kapila's Sankhya says. This Vibhaga Jnana of Purusha and Prakriti is enough for Purusha to be liberated from the clutches of Prakriti. This is what Kapila says. But in Bhagavad Gita, it is not like that. It is not just a Vibhaga. Here Brahmajnana is necessary. Just Purusha Prakriti Viveka is not enough according to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita again and again highlights the necessity of Brahmajnana. The term Brahma comes, Brahmavid comes, Brahma Nirvanam comes. All this you can see in Bhagavad Gita frequently. So it is clear that the Sankhya philosophy expounded by Kapila is not the philosophy of Gita. Even in Mahabharata also, Kapila's Upadesha doesn't contain or doesn't follow strictly the Kapila's philosophy of Sankhya, but Kapila's philosophy finds more place in Bhagavata's Kapilopakhyaana than in Bhagavad Gita. This is what we can conclude. Anyway, in both places, it is not the pure Kapila Sankhya philosophy which is available through Sankhya Karika. Even the Sankhya Sutra of Kapila is not available nowadays. It is lost. Kapila Sankhya Sutra is lost, but there is a book called Sankhya Karika by Ishwara Krishna. And by studying this Sankhya Karika, these sutras can be filtered from this Karika. And some people say that this filtering is not a scientific process, it is a failure actually. Still, people follow the filtered Sankhya Sutras, filtered from Sankhya Karika of Ishwara Krishna. And these filtered Sankhya Sutras are nowadays popular as Sankhya Sutras of Kapila. Actually, the Sankhya Sutras of Kapila are not available nowadays, it is lost. So when we go to Sankhya Karika of Vishwa Krishna, we will get a clear picture of what Sankhya philosophy is, as it is available at present. Even that is not presented in either Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavata. A mixed version of that Sankhya philosophy available from Sankhya Karika of Vishwa Krishna, mixed with Bhakti, mixed with Brahmajnana, mixed with Vedanta, is found in Devahuti's Devahuti Kapila dialogue as well as Bhagavad Gita. And as I would like to emphasize once again that Bhagavad Gita has a option as a possibility for all schools to explore their philosophy. So even if a Sankhya philosopher says that Kapila as Sankhya is the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, we need not brush aside that argument. Even Advaita, when we say that it is the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, Dvaitins will come and say that it is not Advaita, it is Dvaita. And they will very strongly argue and even to an extent defeat the Advaitin when it comes to the discussion of Bhagavad Gita. When Bhagavad Gita is discussed, even Advaitins will find it a little difficult to argue with Dvaitins, because Bhagavad Gita has that much scope for all types of schools of thoughts. So even though it is not exactly Sankhya of Kapila in Bhagavad Gita, almost all the elements of Kapila Sankhya can be found in Bhagavad Gita. The word Sankhya used in Bhagavad Gita is not the Sankhya of Kapila. This is what all the Vedanta commentarians of Bhagavad Gita says, especially Shankaracharya, who has already refuted Kapila's Sankhya in his discussions on in his commentaries on Brahma Sutra and Upanishads. So this is what I would like to tell, and this is a very deep topic, and it has to be explored very in depth by studying Sankhya philosophy. I have not studied Sankhya philosophy much, but from the classes that I have attended on Bhagavad Gita, Shankara Bhashya, and the explanations given by our Acharya, only I am speaking, and also Bhagavatam, I have read the whole Kapilopakyanam many times, and it's a very beautiful episode with a lot of scope for devotion also, as well as an opening to understand what Kapila's Sankhya is. So with this limited knowledge only I was speaking. I hope what I have spoken has satisfied to an extent the question.
This question is like this, Swami. Why Pandavas had to be taught about Ramayana and the miseries of Sri Rama during Vanavasa? Does it mean that Kripacharya omitted Ramayana during their childhood studies?
No. We won't understand anything unless the right atmosphere, right environment comes. We all have this experience, no? When we go through an experience, only we can understand the real lessons of that experience. It has to be related to our own life experiences. Rama's story is Rama's story, as well as we are not facing it. Only a person who undergoes the sufferings of Rama, that sufferings that Rama had when he was in the exile, only he can understand what exactly the sufferings were. So Yudhishthira and Pandavas are now going through this suffering. So once again, telling the story of Rama will give them insights. This is very important. Only experience is Guru. So even to understand some of the teachings of the scriptures, we have to undergo through those experiences. For example, there is a story of Satyakama in Upanishads. Satyakama was sent to the forest for Brahmajnana, and he came back with 1,000 cows. He was given some 100 cows and asked by the Guru to come back when it is 1,000. And when he came back, when it was 1,000, all the natural elements gave him advices, and he had the knowledge of Brahman. But when he comes to the Guru again gives him Brahmajnana. Why? He has already got the Brahmajnana. And Guru says that what you got from fire, from a bullock, from some other natural elements, like I think rain or cloud, something. So some 4 elements of nature advises him 4 sections of Brahma, 1/4 of Brahma, 1/4 of Brahmajnana. And he had the whole knowledge of Brahman from his experience. Then after coming to the Gurukula, the Guru advises him again Brahmajnana. Why? Because already he had the experience, and when it comes from the Guru's mouth again, the clarity is 100%. So Yudhishthira had already got the experience of Vanavasa, the adversities of Vanavasa, and then when he hears the story of Rama, he will clearly know what suffering Rama had undergone. And for another matter, this will give him solace. It's a special, it's a very, very relevant advice while we study Ramayana. There is an initiation sloka. It is like this: Dukkhe dukkha prajura charidanyeva siddhaushadhani. Why Ramayana is studied? Because it is full of dukkha. Ramayana is full of dukkha. In Hindi, there is a phrase: "Main apni Ram kahani sunaunga," means I will tell my Ramayana to you. Means I will tell my sad tales to you. The Ramayana is a synonym of sad tale, of tragic tales. So when Yudhishthira hears Rama's story, how tragic was his life, then what happens? Yudhishthira's sorrow, Yudhishthira's frustration will come down. Dukkhe dukkha prajura jaridanyeva siddhaushadhani. In our dukkha, the stories of some people who have more dukkha will become a medicine for our dukkha. So for Yudhishthira's dukkha, Rama's story of sorrow became a medicine. So it was again told. Yudhishthira couldn't think of the Ramayana he learned in his Balyam, in his in Gurukula Vasa, and he cannot reflect upon it and automatically come out of his sorrow. Somebody has to remind him about the stories of Rama, who underwent so much tragedies in his life. So it doesn't mean that he was not told this Ramayana in his childhood. He was told, but it was reminded at the at the appropriate situation. It was again imparted to Yudhishthira so that it will reveal this the essence of the story, or the crux of the story will be revealed in Yudhishthira's mind. Yudhishthira will realize the Ramayana when only he goes through these experiences. So it was the right time for Yudhishthira, for Dhaumya, maybe Dhaumya or Kripacharya. Who was it? Markandeya, as some Maharshi told the Ramakatha again, only to drive the Ramakatha and the message of Ramakatha into Yudhishthira's mind deeply. For that only he again told Ramayana. He already learned Ramayana because Itihasa etc. are a part of study of those times. So he has already been told Ramayana in his childhood. There is no doubt. Namaskar.
Okay, Swami, thank you so much, Swami, for taking up both the questions.